How's it going, everyone? It's Spencer here with Spencer Stuff. Welcome to the community. I appreciate you being here. Today, we're going to be covering gaming, specifically on the PS5 and Bravia 9. I'm going to be going through my settings, and while I don't have my TV professionally calibrated, I will say that I will show you all my picture settings, and I still think they look fantastic. I'm going to be showing you brightness preferred, and then the small tweak I made for gradation preferred. But before I do that, I ask that you please hit that like button, subscribe, and of course, ring that bell notification icon so you're informed of everything I upload in the future. Thank you so much. The first thing we're going to talk about is SDR Gaming. Now, I know a lot of games nowadays do not have SDR, it's primarily HDR Gaming, but we'll get into that in a little bit. This should be a pretty quick section. The first thing you want to do on your PS5 is go into Settings, and then you'll go to Screen and Video, Video Output, and you're going to scroll down to where it says HDR. The thing here is you want to make sure it says HDR is on when supported. It's typically set to always on by default. You do not want this. Let the TV do the processing, because otherwise you're going to end up with really odd colors when it comes to SDR games. It's not worth it. So make sure HDR is only on when supported. So I'm going to show you Need for Speed Hot Pursuit, which is a beautiful game in its own right. It's a PS4 game running at 60 FPS on the PS5, and I'll show you my settings in SDR Gaming. I always have the picture mode on standard game. For brightness, I have the brightness to max. I would put this between 30 and 50. Personally, I just really like a bright, punchy image. I know there's a lot of people who don't. If you're in a darker room, you might want to drop this down to 30 or below. I have a fully lit room, so for me, it's not a big deal having the brightness at max. For SDR contrast, I have it at 90. For gamma, I have it at -1. This improves overall contrast for me, and I really like how it looks. Black level, I have at 50. Black equalizer is off. Auto local dimming for SDR is at high. And this is really just to improve contrast. I know there's some people that prefer medium to get a little extra brightness out of it, but I like high. Peak luminance for SDR, I have it on high. Color, so as you crank the brightness up, color needs to be increased in my opinion, otherwise you start to lose saturation, so I bumped the color up to 60. I would say if you're at 30 or below, you can probably bring the color down to 55 or even 50, and you should be able to maintain good color. Hues, the same. Live colors off. Expert 1 is my color temperature. For clarity, I have sharpness at 50. Reality creation, I have it at auto. And then smooth gradation, this is up to you. I keep it on low. I just like having a nicer gradation of color, but frankly, off is okay as well. It's not gonna hurt anything. Motion blur reduction, I have that off. And that's it. I'm gonna just jump in real quick and start this game, kind of give you a look at how the game is. You can already tell this game is just stunning. And one of the reasons, and I brought this up earlier, the reason that I want the always on HDR on the PS5 to be turned off is because the Bravia 9 is already doing some picture processing to make this look more HDR than it is. So there's really no reason for it to be converted twice. But yeah, the colors are extremely vibrant, punchy, and it feels real. It feels very natural to what you would see in real life. And for SDR, I mean, if you were to put someone in a room with me, I think that they could easily say this looks pretty HDR looking. So all in all, these are my settings, and I think that many of you will probably enjoy them quite a bit on this Bravia 9. So jumping on in, the first thing that you're going to want to do is hit the little wrench button on your Bravia 9 remote, go into picture settings. You're going to want to go to brightness. And for HDR tone mapping, you want to turn this off. This is very important when it comes to HDR calibration on your PS5. Once that's done, you'll back out, go into your PS5 settings, go down to screen and video, go over to HDR, and hit adjust HDR. It's going to bring in a big white screen. What you want to do is go all the way down so the sun is fully showing, and you're going to click up until the sun disappears. So for me, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Then you're gonna do the same thing on part 2. Go all the way down so that the sun is fully showing and do the exact same thing. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. I'm 23 clicks in. And then last but not least, for the adjust HDR 3 out of 3, you're gonna go all the way down to the darkest setting. You don't want the sun showing at all. Set it all the way to the darkest. Hit OK. And now you've adjusted your HDR on your PS5. So from there, once again, go back into your Bravia 9 settings by hitting the wrench, go to picture settings, and you're gonna go to brightness again, and then you're gonna go into brightness preferred, which is my preferred choice. Now I'm gonna jump into Ghost of Tsushima and show you what the different settings do real quick. When it comes to Ghost of Tsushima, sometimes you're going to have to actually change the brightness setting in-game as well. For me, I set the brightness to 50. I know a lot of displays, I believe, are 10 and 20. Those are for dimmer displays, but I find on these more brighter displays, you're gonna wanna crank the brightness up a little bit. No, that does not raise the black levels. It just increases the highlights in the game. So you can see in the game right now, I have brightness preferred turned on. You can see the sun is vibrant and bright, and the colors look fantastic. So the big thing that I wanna show you then, when it comes to settings, you want to jump into picture settings, and for game mode specifically, this is what I use. I use standard game. For brightness, I have brightness or HDR turned on max. Contrast I have at 90, and I brought down gamma by 1. The reason for this is because I found that at 0, the contrast kind of takes a little bit of a hit, and I found 2 was a little bit too much, so I would put it at -1. Tone mapping I have at brightness preferred. Black level at 50. Black equalizer I have off. Some people might use this for FPS games. It'll bring the black levels up a little bit so that you can see everything a lot clearer. Personally, I think it takes away from the game and it kind of looks weird. So I would keep that off for now, unless you're playing maybe a first-person shooter where you want the shadows to show more detail. Auto local dimming, this was a big question for a lot of people. I have it on high. I prefer to have the more contrast as opposed to the HDR highlights. Personally, I know that medium is going to give you a little bit more brightness, but I prefer the contrast. Peak luminance I have on high. And then color, this is kind of up to you. I leave it at 55. I like to have a little bit more of a colorful game. I found 60 was a little bit too high and it was causing color bleeding a little bit. 55 I think offers a really nice and rich color palette, while 50 I think is still okay. It kind of brings it down and mutes it a little bit. I prefer 55. I think it makes it really pretty. Live color I have off. Color temperature I have on expert 1. For clarity, I leave sharpness at 50. For reality gradation, I basically put it on auto. I know it adds a little bit of input lag, but I think it does make a difference. Smooth gradation, this one is I would put on either low or off. It basically just prevents banding and posterization when putting multiple colors next to each other. By putting, several shades of blue, it won't posterize. And then for motion, I have everything off. Now, I will say that there's a lot of people who probably want to play on gradation preferred, and the only real things that you're going to want to change when going in and changing to gradation preferred is I would bring the gamma back up to 0 and then bring gradation preferred down. And you'll notice immediately, well, maybe not in the video, it kind of still blows it out, but the sun becomes a lot more detailed. In brightness preferred, the sun becomes more of a orb or a blob, versus gradation preferred, it's more of a circle. I can understand why people would like gradation preferred. It really does offer, in my opinion, better contrast than what brightness preferred offers, but you really do take a hit in the brightness department. So I personally like brightness preferred, but I can definitely see why people would want to play on gradation preferred. Either way, Ghost of Tsushima is a stunning game, especially the Golden Forest right here. I mean, just look at this. Maybe it'll be easier to tell. I'll go back into settings real quick, and I'm going to turn on the brightness preferred again. So yeah, those are my settings. Personally, I think you're gonna enjoy them. I don't really change anything game to game. These are the settings I run with all the time, even on first-person shooters. Like I said before, you can always bring the black adjust up a little bit if you really want to bring the detail out in the shadows, but overall, these settings I think are my favorite. So hopefully this helped you out. If you have any questions, please leave them down below and I'll be happy to get to them. I appreciate you watching. I hope you have a great day, great evening, whatever it might be in your area, and I'll see you all later. Thank you so much.